This is the story of our maternal grandparents, Jack and Ezebel Kouyomjian, the parents of our mother, Amelia K. Harrer, as researched by her sons, Bill and John Harrer. Ezebel Kouyomjian, née Ezebel Sevekian, was born in Aleppo, Syria in the summer of 1901. She had one brother named George. She had three sisters, only two we have a name for, Maria and Sekenian. It is believed that the third sister died at age 12 of unknown causes. Sekenian is reported to have been raped and killed by Turkish soldiers, a common practice during the Armenian Genocide happening around 1909. Ezebel's father, Sarkis, who spoke French, Armenian, and Syrian, fled to Brazil and worked in a steel factory outside of Sao Paulo to raise funds to help his children escape the genocide. Jack, also known as John and Jacob Hagop Kouyomjian, was likely born in 1895 in Antab, Armenia, Turkey. Although there are no clear records of his birth, we believe he was the second oldest child born to Sarin Kouyomjian and Manoush Sarabanian. Jack had one sister, Yernik, born January 1906, and three brothers, Garibed, born November 1893, one unnamed in 1906, George, year of birth unknown. It should be noted that many people in this region could not read or write English. A person giving their name to an immigration or census worker never really knew how it would be spelled.
Were of Anglo-Saxon American stock, to whom a Polish or a Yugoslav or a Greek name was Greek, and they couldn't spell it so well.
There are many variations on the spelling of Kouyomjian, such as Kuymjian, Kouyomdjian, Kouyomjian, and even Cuyumgian. All these different spellings make it very difficult to research family history. There were large-scale massacres of Armenians in the 1890s and 1909. An estimated 800,000 to 1.2 million Armenians were sent on death marches to the Syrian desert. The Armenian Genocide resulted in the destruction of more than 2 millennia of the Armenian civilization. Ezebel left Syria sometime between 1911 and 1913. We haven't found any records but believe Ezebel arrived in Brazil with her father, Sarkis, and sister, Maria. Ezebel and Maria reportedly worked in a shirt factory in Sao Paulo. Ezebel's mother died before she could follow them. Somehow, Sarkis arranged Ezebel's marriage to Jack Kouyomjian in 1916. Ezebel stated she was originally wed to Jack in a Brazilian church at the age of 15, and then later renewed her vows in April of 1926 when the family moved to Evanston, Illinois. While in Sao Paulo, Ezebel gave birth to Liberta Ezebel in November 1918, Jack Serafino in August 1920, Mary Claudienne in November of 1921, and Amelia in August of 1923. A fourth daughter, Joanne Carroll, would be born in Evanston in October of 1934. Both the Sevekian and the Kouyomjians wanted to get to the United States. People were fleeing the Armenian Genocide and the turmoil in the region. The U.S. restricted how many could cross its border. Immigration laws were tightening.
In the 1920s, Congress had passed restrictive quota laws, stifling immigration for all but the elites.
As was the custom, Jack left for America first with the plan of getting established before sending for his wife and children. This meant that Ezebel would stay in Brazil with 4 children under the age of 5, while her husband found them a place to live. Jack Kouyomjian arrived in the United States in December of 1923 with $30 in his pocket. They listed his name as Jack Kouyomjian on the Munson Line steamship manifest. Jack told immigration officials that he lived in Brazil for 11 years or since 1912. Jack made his way to Evanston, Illinois, where his sister and brother-in-law and a large group of Armenians were living. After 20 months as a single mother with 4 children in Brazil, Ezebel began her immigration to the U.S. They decided to use Portuguese surnames for Ezebel and the children, choosing de Souza Oliveira for Ezebel and de Oliveira for the children. This likely was prompted by the genocide happening in Syria and Armenia. Ezebel had no way of knowing if she was still in danger by using her real name. The trip from Rio de Janeiro or Santos, Brazil took 12 days to reach Ellis Island. There were 4 tiers of transportation. First, second, and third class passengers received accommodations in the midship decks where noise and pitching were at a minimum. They had access to public rooms and were served meals. Passengers in steerage, the way Jack, Ezebel, and the children traveled, had rooms in the lowest decks, little privacy, limited bathroom facilities, and they brought their own food.
New York Harbor. Travelers in first and second and third class went straight ashore. Steerage passengers were sent to Ellis Island by ferry. Ellis Island, built on a mudflat in New York Harbor in 1892, was created for the sole purpose of controlling immigration. It was the place immigrants feared most.
On arriving almost 2 years after her husband, Ezebel and the 4 children made it to Ellis Island. The youngest, Amelia, not yet 2 years old, had contracted the measles and the family was quarantined for 31 days. Finally, in September of 1925, they were admitted to the country and found their way to Evanston. Jack Kouyomjian opened 2 dry cleaning operations, one at Fort Sheridan where he cleaned military uniforms, and the second location was below their home on Florence Avenue. Ezebel also worked as a seamstress and tailor at both locations. In 1934, Jack and Ezebel had their 5th child, Joanne Carroll. Ezebel traveled to Brazil to visit her sister in 1947. A photo was taken to remember the occasion. Jack and Ezebel worked their family businesses. The children grew up, married, and some moved away. Liberta married Norai Sabanjan and moved to Bakersfield, California in 1945, where Norai operated a dry cleaning business. Amelia married Bill Harrer and moved to Pasadena in 1948 and eventually Bakersfield in 1966. Jack Kouyomjian passed away in April of 1965 of a heart attack. Ezebel would live another 19 years, cooking and gardening and spending time with her daughters, son, and grandchildren. She passed away in August of 1984. Jack and Ezebel Kouyomjian laid a foundation of strength, determination, and commitment to family that defined the character of their children. Their legacy lives on through their descendants.